Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Saturday. It's July 5th, 2025, and today is day 638. I just started watching today that show, The Chosen. You've probably heard a lot about it. It's in 5 seasons. I wasn't really sure what I thought. I watched the first couple of episodes today, and it reminded me today is Saturday, Shabbat, for those who are Jewish, and I've been practicing the Hebrew prayers that I learned in seminary, one of which is the blessing over the bread during the Shabbat meal. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech ha'olam hamotzi lechem min ha'aretz. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who brings forth bread from the earth. I pray that over myself, over all of those observing Sabbath today. We'll do a bit of a devotional tomorrow for the daily update, but I also pray that for the people of Gaza who continue to go hungry 638 days after the horrific attacks by Hamas on the south of Israel. I thought I would start today's update with the occupied West Bank. Hundreds of residents near the Palestinian village of Muharat near Jericho were forcibly displaced yesterday. This was one of the largest expulsions since the Gaza war began. Locals on a different issue said that years of settler harassment, violence, and theft culminated Thursday night when settlers vandalized a home, stole 60 sheep, and prompted the community's decision to leave. So Thursday night and into Friday, the largest expulsion in the last 20 plus months in Muharat near Jericho by the Dead Sea. 2 German reporters were attacked by Israeli settlers in a Palestinian village in the occupied West Bank. This was reported by Germany's international broadcasters. 2 Deutsche Welle reporters in the West Bank reported this today. A correspondent and a cameraman were pelted with large stones. This happened yesterday. The pair were in the Palestinian village of Sinjil. This was north of Ramallah to report on a planned protest against violence by radical settlers. They were reportedly able to escape unharmed, but the cameraman's car was badly damaged. And, the director of the news program said this attack cannot be justified by anything. We demand quite clearly that the Israeli government must guarantee the safety of all journalists in the West Bank. The Israeli military, as you know, is responsible for security matters in the West Bank, and they did not comment on this matter. No international journalists are allowed to report about what's happening in Gaza. I wanted to give an update on Taibeh. It's a Christian village in the occupied West Bank. This is very disturbing. There has been an increasingly frequent pattern near Taibeh. It's located east of Ramallah. It's known as the last remaining town in the West Bank inhabited entirely by Christians, and it's been facing ongoing attacks by Israeli settlers that are targeting residents, their property, and farmlands. This report was in a Catholic news journal that got news from an Arabic language news partners. In recent weeks, settlers have put a new outpost on the eastern edge of Taibeh atop the ruins of a farmhouse whose owners were displaced about a year ago. The outpost was erected in a vital agriculture zone, which spans about 17,000 dunams, which is roughly 4,200 acres. This area that's agricultural serves as the economic lifeline for the town. It hosts thousands of olive trees, poultry, sheep farms, the wide fields used for seasonal crops. It forms the bulk of Taipei's total land mass, which is about 5,900 acres. Attacks and infringements are not new. In 2019 and 2020, settlers set up a similarly illegal outpost around the town. This means illegal by the Israeli government standards, but they were often accompanied by arson attacks on crops, theft of equipment, deliberately releasing cattle into the fields to destroy the harvest of the Palestinians. During the latest olive harvest season last fall, for the second year in a row, farmers were barred from accessing their land through the Rim Onim settlement, which was built on confiscated land from the village of Taibeh. This either resulted in theft or the complete spoilage of the entire olive crop. Approximately 20 families were physically assaulted while trying to reach their land. This was during the olive harvest season. Father Faldele, who's a parish priest of the Church of Christ the Redeemer in Taibeh, told this news outlet, the town, which the Gospel of John chapter 11:54 refers to as Ephraim, the place where Jesus withdrew to before his passion, is no longer safe for its people today. We do not live in peace, but in daily fear of siege. Since October 2023, more than 10 families have left Taipei due to fear of ongoing violence and harassment. Fahdaleh also described further Israeli imposed restrictions alongside of attacks. There have been iron gates installed around town entrances, which can close off the town. I mentioned that West Bank towns have been closed off frequently throughout the last 20 plus months, combined with agricultural restrictions, worsening unemployment, and the deepening economic crisis. Christians are literally disappearing in front of our very eyes, in the very place where our faith began, where Jesus did his ministry, the most holy and sacred places of Christianity. Soon, if something is not done, the churches in the Holy Land will be empty, stones, museums of a forgotten people in a forgotten place. There is news about a ceasefire agreement. Axios reported this morning that Trump hopes there will be a breakthrough in the Netanyahu meeting on Monday. He says that now a ceasefire agreement could happen within the next week. Hamas is demanding that after the ceasefire starts, the UN has to run humanitarian assistance and the delivery of aid. Hamas wants the IDF to withdraw to its boundaries from before the ceasefire collapsed last March, but Israel's refused on those demands. This was as of this morning, Axios said. The 60-day ceasefire, I gave updates about the release of hostage schedule yesterday. Currently, Steve Witkoff is working on the proposal. It would allow for the release of 125 Palestinian prisoners that are serving life sentences for murdering Israelis, along with 1,111 Palestinians from Gaza who were arrested by Israeli forces between October 7th, 2023. All of that would be in exchange for the lives of 10 hostages. Hamas has demanded that there be a stronger commitment from the United States that Israel will not unilaterally resume the war after 60 days. I talked about that some yesterday. Israel's examining Hamas's comments in response to the ceasefire proposal. Hamas's response has those three requests: guarantees for continuing negotiations for a permanent ceasefire, humanitarian aid, and IDF's withdrawal from Gaza. A mother of a hostage, Nimrod, criticized, her name's Vicky Cohen, she criticized Israeli leaders for considering a partial deal that will leave some of the hostages left behind in Gaza. Her brother, Yotam, the brother of the hostage, Yotam, warned against a partial deal, saying that ending the war and securing the return of hostages has to be the top national interest for the state of Israel. I mentioned Trump said the ceasefire deal could come as early as this week. A lot is riding on his meeting with Netanyahu. The freed hostage Ofer Calderon said during his captivity that the IDF bombed a tunnel in which he and other hostages were held. He said he ate almost nothing and he drank salty water while in Gaza. He would get a thin piece of pita with practically nothing on it. He would cut it in half and put a piece in his pocket to eat it later, bite by bite. Israelis who are supporting the release of hostages are finding it hard to argue with the news that's coming out from humanitarian agencies saying food is not getting into Gaza because even the hostages are saying they're starving. There are demonstrations throughout Israel calling for the return of hostages and protesting against the government. That happened today. In Gaza, in the last 24 hours, God have mercy, 70 Palestinians were killed. Another 332 were wounded. The death toll is now 57,338. Meanwhile, Johnny Moore, the head of the U.S.-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, said two American aid workers were wounded by grenades that were thrown by Hamas members during GHF operations. They said, this is preliminary information. The IDF said Israeli troops facilitated their evacuation, adding that terrorist organizations in the Gaza Strip continue efforts to sabotage the distribution of aid. Gaza hospital officials told Al Jazeera that 9 people, including 3 children, were killed near aid distribution centers today on Saturday. In Lebanon, Al Jazeera reported that Israeli drone strikes targeting 3 locations, Ben Jabil, Shabaa, and Shagra, were targeted. The IDF said they killed a member of Hezbollah's elite Redwan force in a drone strike. So there are continued attacks on South Lebanon, despite the fact that in general, the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel is holding. Iran still has not agreed to halt a nuclear enrichment or to allow the IAEA inspections. Trump said that he will discuss Iran with Netanyahu on Monday. He also said permanent strikes will set back Iran's nuclear program, or the U.S. strikes will permanently set back the nuclear program. We've heard mixed reports about that. He will not allow Tehran to resume its nuclear program. In Israel, a woman who's employed by a firm that's linked to that whole Qatargate scandal. You'll have to go back and listen to one of my daily updates where I explain what that is or look it up. It linked to the Qatar Gate involving alleged money transfers from Qatar to associates of Netanyahu. She was recently interrogated 3 times, including by the Shin Bet. She was released due to lack of evidence. Her boss is Major General Reservist Yahav Mordecai, and they still remain under investigation. Finally, I wanted to let you know, Churches for Middle East Peace, we just announced our Fall Pilgrimage to Peace tour. It's called Piece by Piece. We're so excited to be partnering with the Bethlehem Fair Trade Artisans, BFTA. We announced the cities that we'll be going to. So if you're interested in having us come to our city, our October cities are Atlanta, Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, and DC. Our November cities are the Twin Cities in Minnesota, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Boston, Massachusetts. Destiny Magnet, our outreach manager, will be on that tour. I'll be on parts of it. Let us know if you're interested in hosting us in your community. May God go before us as we, who are Christian, will observe our Sabbath day tomorrow. In the name of Christ, amen.